Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about how to make different forms. Um, to make a sphere, this is kind of the base of all forms that you're going to be making. And to make a sphere, you're going to roll either your two hands together or your one hand over top of the sphere on your board, your canvas covered board. I filmed this a while back whenever I was making it for the little kids, so you'll notice my forms aren't exactly perfect, but I do want you to try and make yours as perfect as possible. So first, make the sphere, and then I want you to practice making two more. So in total, you should have three perfect spheres by the time you're done. Next, you're going to be taking the spheres you've made and turning them into either rectangular prisms or cubes. And the way to do this is you start with a sphere, so you would have to make this if you were starting from scratch. And then you're just going to tap it against your board, against the surface you're working on until you get a flat edge. So for your cube or your rectangular prism, the opposite edge should always be parallel. So that means if I have one flat edge, the opposite side also needs to be flat. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to tap it again. Oops. I'm going to tap it again. And I'm going to do this for every side of the prism. So top and bottom should be flat, left and right side should be flat, front and back side should be flat. If you need help getting there, you can kind of smush it a little bit flatter. If, say, I'm trying to get a skinnier rectangular prism, which I'm doing right here. And again, just tapping it until you have the edges that you want straight. You can then go in by pinching with your fingers and kind of straightening out the corners. Again, like I said, I made this video originally for some younger kids, so I didn't worry about making it too perfect, but I'd like for you to try and make three perfect rectangular prisms. They can be cubes, or they can be rectangles, I don't care. Just practice getting the corners nice and straight and the sides nice and flat. The next form we're going to be making is a cone. Just like I said earlier, a lot of our forms start with the base of a sphere, so go ahead and roll out another sphere. And we're going to be pinching the top because a cone is angled up gradually until it comes to a point, just like you can kind of see how I did the cones on the left and right of the sandcastle there. So your fingers are going to be pinching towards the point away from the flat edge. It's very important that you apply even pressure here, or you're going to push too much right in the center and it'll be like a noodle on top and fat on the bottom. You want to have it like a gradual slope up the edges of the cone. Then to flatten out the bottom, just like we did with the cube and rectangular prisms, you're going to tap it a little. Afterward, you can go back in and fix any issues that caused with the edges of your cone. Go ahead and make three of these as well. Try and get them perfect. The last form you're going to be making is a cylinder. Pretty much every kid who's ever grown up playing with Play-Doh or some type of clay has made kind of this worm type shape before by either rolling your two hands together in one direction, back and forth, or by rolling it against the table or the board, in your case, to make this sort of worm. This is going to be the basis for our cylinder. However, you'll see here, if I roll with my fingers and I don't apply the correct amount of pressure, or the same amount of pressure, I should say, it's going to make it skinnier in one spot than the rest. See how that's thinner there? We want our worm to be completely even. That thin space will make it weak, make it flop over. That's not what we want. So again, make sure you're applying even pressure. I recommend using more of the palm of your hand rather than your fingers to try and get your cylinder. If you make your cylinder too thin, then it's going to not support any weight at all. So depending on what it is you're trying to make out of clay, think about the width that you're going to be working with. If you want it to stand up, if you want it to curl, it's going to have different purposes. Thinner stuff will be able to curl and bend more easily, but it will not be able to stand up. Thicker stuff will, like the towers on the left and right side of the sandcastle I have there. So I ended up getting a little bit more clay to try and make my cylinder. And then the tops and the bottoms, we want to be flat. So you can start with your fingers, or you can also tap on the edge of the table, on the surface of the table, like we did for all the other stuff, to get your flat edges for your cylinder. Just like all the others, go ahead and make 3 perfect cylinders. Once you've finished all your forms, we're going to talk about why we're doing this. Essentially, anything you can think of is made up of forms. So anything you might want to make, you have to be able to, in your head, break down into what all forms is it made of. Take this cat, for instance. You can see that they did it by spheres on the feet, sphere for the head and nose, cones essentially for the arms, so on and so forth. For the rest of class, I want you to create some sort of animal or object using forms. So use the skills that you've learned today and apply them to creating a creature of your own. Remember, be prepared to squish it at the end of class. In the meantime, have fun.